3 minutes after 4 o'clock. It is the second hour of the program, the CCFM Drive, Natasha Romeo, and now joined by our beautiful guests in studio, the Cupidos, Tina and Craig Cupido, Mr. Brandon, as well as Mr. Etienne, having a very, very interesting conversation. Now, of course, you know that we are wrapping up the month of fathers. And while we do so, today we're talking about, the blessings and complexities of fathering children that are not biologically ours, of course, from a father's perspective. Now, as mentioned, Etienne is in studio, Etienne Goliath, as well as Brandon Titus, chatting to us about their journeys respectively.
I just want to say before we start, you can also catch us live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. We are live, so you can catch that conversation live there, or simply send through a text on 061 798 1075. A greeting to the Cupidos. Hello.
Good afternoon, Romeo and Natasha. We've got the like a full house here. We've got daughters here on the side. It's all happening with the, can I say, the young gentleman next to me here.
Oh, we're loving it. Mr. Cupido, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm very good, thank you, sir. Very good. Got some wise men here next to me. But yeah, no, looking forward to what we're going to talk about as well, man. Nice to see you guys too.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
A greeting as well to Etienne as well as Brandon. Hi, gentlemen.
Hi there.
How are you?
We're well. We just came along for the ride, so check out the view.
Wow.
And what are your thoughts on the view? It's good, eh?
Excellent. Yeah, man. Can see some sharks and some dolphins or whatever it is.
We hope it's not sharks. Oh my goodness. Of course, as always, joining on the conversation, a very interesting one today. I think before we give over to Tina, I also want to encourage you, as mentioned, when you join in, maybe you have a father who's played a role, not necessarily biological. Maybe you are a child who was raised by a stepfather, and you'd like to sort of share your comment. Again, as Romeo mentioned, we are live on Facebook as well as YouTube. It's simply CCFM 107.5. Mrs. Cupido, Tina, hello.
Good afternoon. Yes, so today you're not going to hear my voice much. You know, I'm hanging here. If you're on Facebook, you can see they gave me, can you picture the back of a taxi, no? And then they squeeze you in and they say, "Nita, bitchy lifter. That's where I'm hanging today. Not even on the laptop in the taxi.
I was
They're
going to say
no,
the laptop.
I'm not even worthy of the laptop in the taxi. I'm hanging there on the side. No? So I'm here, but I think it is best for today because I think the stories, the testimonies, the encouragement that we're going to hear today by the men is going to speak to a lot more men than we realize. So we've had, for Mother's Month, we've had people that spoke about their different journeys. And I think there are a lot more women events and things that we host, but there's not as many men that are forthcoming with their stories and their testimonies. So I'm very privileged and very grateful that these two young gentlemen said yes today to share their powerful stories about how fatherhood doesn't always look like the picture that we thought.
Absolutely.
But we still get to father people. We still get to look at the next generation and say, I can impact them. Even though they are not my blood, I get to make an impact in their lives. So that is why we have Etienne and Brandon here today.
I'm super excited, I think, for this one because I can relate as a child who was raised by a father who wasn't, he wasn't a biological father, but he's a man that played such a pivotal role in my life. He set the foundation for where I'm at right now. I mean, he met my mom, I think I was 8 years old. And if you ask me now, that's my father.
Yes.
I don't say that's my stepfather.
Yes.
It's my father, the only man that I know. And so I'm going to start with you, Brandon, as we sort of get into it. You have an experience, of course, you grew up as a child exposed to a blended family. How has that influenced you personally? And I think your growth overall.
Hi, good afternoon, Natasha and Romeo. It's indeed a privilege this afternoon to meet you as well. Thank you very much for the invitation, Craig and Tina. Yes, as a child, I was exposed. My father grew up in a blended family. Then I grew up in a blended family, and now my children grow up in a blended family. And I think it is 3 generations now of blended families. So First of all, just to give you a background, growing up in Cape Town, I never knew that I was raised in a blended family. I think my grandmother and grandfather, they were top secret agents, because they never told us and they
Yeah.
never made me feel that I am not their own, or my grandfather, that was not my biological grandfather. He never gave me that idea that I'm not his own.
Mm.
And growing up in Cape Town with a family, aunts that really loved me, and um, just being there all the time, I never knew that they were not my biological family.
Mm.
And my father always also grappled with his after the divorce of my parents. Um, yes, we were exposed to, I would say, to two dimensions of blended families.
Yeah.
Number one is I was introduced already. I had my blended family as my relatives, and number two, also now being in this new, my father entering this new marriage. We as children needed to go through different phases,
Mm.
obviously. And today, yes, I'm also a father that raised a daughter since the age of 5 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the age of 5 years old, Dilsad, I remember it. She asked me, "Can I call you daddy?"
Oh, man.
And I said, "Yes, you can call me daddy." And it is 15 years later,
Sure.
I'm still a daddy.
Yeah.
So what impacted me through the years, obviously, being flooded by love as a child, and also this new reality of my father have well, I was raised by my father because my mother couldn't take care of all three children. And it was quite depressing as a child. It
Mm.
was quite, sometimes I was scared, and I was angry because I seek the love of my mother.
Yeah.
I wanted to be with her because for the mere fact just that you know that when your mom is there, man, that's a different love. That's a different that's something different totally as a child.
Mm.
And but knowing also that I had my family around me, so my aunts, I can mention many of them today, and they were around me, and they were that comfort. They were there when my mother weren't there. They were there giving me that love
Mm.
and reaching out to me as a child. And yes, it impacted me a lot because as a child, obviously, me and Craig, we studied together, and I'm writing my thesis this year on the impact divorce have on children and divorce households. I would also, I think it blend in with the blended families, because that is the reality. That is what our children face out there. That
Yeah.
is what our families face out there.
Mm.
And many people, they battle with this because they don't know how to handle
Yeah.
the situation, and the children, and maybe today there's someone that is listening that maybe that will be changed by this conversation we have.
Yeah. I just want to quickly touch on something. You said some people don't know how to handle it. How do
Mm.
you, I mean, in your own experience, you are now, I don't want to use the term, but a stepfather, I suppose, to your daughter, and it's been 15 years. How have you navigated that dynamic from a
Ye-
practical standpoint?
yes, obviously this is my view and this is my experience as well. And it have been tough. It
Mm.
have really been tough because at a young age, I had a daughter. She was only 1 years old. Tatum. I have 5 children altogether, and Dilsad, I she is not my biological child, but I won't say she's my stepchild. I never use that word ever,
Yeah.
because she is dearly. I loved her, and I raised her with the principles of I'm a father. And also I want to tell you today, her father passed away a few years ago, and also he never had that input in her life. And from my perspective, a child longing for her biological father to reach out to her. I knew that she had that longing, and she's here with me in studio today. And if I speak this, she will cry now if she listen to it. And but as a father, I knew that I need to play my role. I was scared, I was afraid, I was angry, I went through all these things. And for me, it is important, first of all, to it starts with acceptance.
Yeah.
It starts when you accept the child and giving him that security and building that security around, especially a girl. It's quite different than a boy. I won't say there's a difference, but a girl is more sensitive. And when me and Saida got married, she have a Muslim background and I'm a Christian, and there's two different dimensions of religion. There's two people coming together, and it starts. It's a journey.
Yeah.
I would say today it's like building a house. You can never build a house without a plan. You need to have a plan, and when you have your plan, that was what guided me and my wife to raise Dilshad, especially this child that is not my biological child, but I was a father all the time.
I just want to say, I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to say anything, but he said acceptance, man. I know so many men that gets married to a lady who has a child.
Yeah.
So when something happens, then they say, "Nee, they say my kintie," or they say, "No, that's not my child. That is your problem." And I always go like, "But you married the lady with the child. So if you marry the lady, you marry everything that comes with her." So the fact that you said the first step is acceptance, to go like, okay, she's not my biological child, but I have an opportunity to be a father to her, is a beautiful thing that I think a lot of people should start to, because the child's not going away.
Yeah. I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just take the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, so important. Thank you for sharing so openly, Brandon, your journey there. Keep the messages coming, 061 798 1075. We have, of course, Brandon in studio as well as Etienne chatting to us about the blessings and the complexities that come with fathering children that are not necessarily theirs.
Brandon, you mentioned something that a listener just sent through now, which relates to as well. He's a father as well. He says, his name is John, is saying, I'm a father to two non-biological children. I'm just saying that gives me, when I think about it, he says they are mine. He calls them mine. Not step in this vocabulary, except for stepping up. So
come on, Jono, agree. Go, Jono. Go, Jono.
Agreeing exactly with what you're saying,
Yeah.
and showing that level of maturity of stepping up into that. Etienne, I want to bring you through on this one. We had the lovely honor of having your wife, share about the adoption process and journey when we touched on motherhood. And I want to bring you in and ask you, considering this adoption scenario, right? We have many fathers who want to have a boy to carry their name and, just continue that legacy. What does that look like for you in terms of moving past wanting to have your own child to the point of where you adopted a child in your own experience, whether with Mikal or now Judah?
Well, definitely, legacy to me is very important. I'm very over family, and I've recently started tracing my family history and lineage, and knowing who everybody is and the family name and what it means, and to not have a child of my own has always been something that bothered me. So much so that in my immediate family, it's only my sister that's got her own biological children. And to the fact that we heard somebody say something to the effect that these guys or this family must be cursed because there's no one else. And if you know our family, I'm a Goliath. Our family, my great grandfather was David Goliath. His firstborn was David Goliath. His firstborn was David Goliath. And the next one was David Goliath. So the family name is very important. And to have somebody of the same lineage and the same bloodline, to us is very important. But my mom, and I think Hailey alluded to it the last time, she said, sometimes God's plan is bigger than our plan, you see. And the reason why we grappled with God and said, yeah, Lord, when then? And we prayed and we did all that we can, was because God had somebody in mind for us that was already predestined to be there. And that is why God had the opportunity to let us meet these children that if we, through God's grace, didn't step up, where would they be? Both these children we found in orphanages. In fact, in Muslim orphanages. And so we stepped out of our comfort zone by the guidance of God, and we managed the most phenomenal kids that changed our lives. We've been through ups, downs, and if it wasn't for us meeting them, um, I don't think my life would have been the same.
Mm.
Romeo, there's a scripture that says that God has adopted us into His family. Now, I've read it a lot of times, but I didn't understand that. Listen here, what it actually means to be adopted. Adoption means you were chosen.
Mm.
You were there already, but you were chosen. And if God can adopt us into His family, we should definitely be adopting His children into our family. My favorite scripture is James 1 verse 27, which says, true and undefiled religion is looking after orphans and widows. So that to me is just the basis to say, listen here, here's a child that looks like me. If you see him, if we were to walk in the mall and he gets missing, you won't ask, is that your daddy? You'll just bring him to me and say, here's your daddy.
Yeah.
So we've had Mikal earlier. She's turning 15 to 14 this month, next month. And then we've 2 years ago we've had two boys as safety kids who lost both mom and dad in the same incident. Where in fact we had three of them, and we also had at Judah. So there's about 1 million kids out there somewhere that God has got a plan for, because nobody's here by accident.
Yeah.
And we are God's hands and feet. And here we are crying because we don't have biological kids, and yet there's kids with purpose,
Sure.
with a life, and we don't know who they will be. Somebody told me once, did you notice that all the superheroes, or most of the superheroes, Superman didn't grow up,
Mm.
Batman didn't grow up with his own parents, Spider-Man didn't grow up with his own parents. Whoever you name them, most of the superheroes were adopted or fostered or had step up parents. Check. So I'm busy training a superhero.
Yeah.
I don't know who this kid is.
Sure.
So even though he's not a Goliath by birth or by blood, and sometimes I've asked the question, and when he's so extremely creative in his creativity,
Yeah.
let's not call it naughty, let's call it creativity.
I
And
love
I thought,
that.
who is your ancestors? Why is the child? I've never been like that. But then I remember that he's actually God's child.
Mm.
And so we are aware that yeah, it's not my biological son, but I'll die for him, 100%. So that kind of overshadows that.
Beautiful.
Extremely powerful. Especially mentioning that superpowers,
Mm.
Yep.
superheroes. That's a fact. As you were mentioning, I was like, you're right. I didn't even
I never thought
realize
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
that. Etienne, I want to bring you in again once more, and I want you to speak to the fathers now.
Mm.
And I want you to share a word of encouragement to our fathers. Those who probably they did not become a father in the traditional way
Mm.
that we know it. And because of that, maybe they're feeling less of a father.
Mm.
Maybe they don't feel they feel less of a man because they feel like they can't play their role, or they feel like they don't deserve their role. What word of encouragement do you have for them, so that they don't repeat and continue the same mistakes even to the kids that they have now and that they've inherited, that they've adopted, as you've mentioned?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. David told Solomon at the end of David's reign, he told Solomon, King David told King Solomon, listen here, step up and do the work. In a nutshell, it's not an easy job to raise somebody else's child or to raise somebody else's. But when you think of it, that is not God's child, because nobody can make a child. Who can create a child? You can't. Science has not made us to a point that we can actually, before we were in our mother's wombs and all that kind of beautiful stuff. So God is the creator. He's created us with purpose. So you are in partnership with God. So step up. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. You are going to fail. If you don't fail as a father once or twice, I mean seriously, then you're living in a fantasy world. We there's no manual, even though we try to put manuals together and go to seminars and stuff like that. There's no manual.
Yeah.
Life is life, and life will knock you for a six. But get up, dust yourself off, and continue on. One of my friends, we just drove past our house as came up. She said she never knew her dad, and she got an opportunity to meet her dad. And she always longed to meet her dad. And her dad was the most horrible person ever. And something told her in her mind, I think it's probably God or whoever. You see, you didn't need a dad at that point. So maybe you grew up without a dad.
Yeah.
And now you've got the opportunity to step up as a dad and not to repeat the failures or the mistakes that dad has done. You will be the best dad that this child needs right now. God has put you here for a time such as this, for a season such as this. So impact. If it's not your child, if it doesn't look like you, there is something that you have to deposit into that child's life. There's something that you need to bring to not only to the child but to the community, to the big. God looks at the bigger picture. And I want to encourage you, my friend, whoever you are, just stick it out, trust in God, fall down, get up, do something, try to be consistent. Look for other fathers. If you haven't been fathered, look for other male figures, other father figures, and don't be an island. Speak about it. Forums such as this where we can speak, step up dads and foster dads and safety parents and let's do this. Somebody told me something. They said, one of my a friend of mine, Janine, she said, we were speaking about the system and about the family, and I told her in desperation, the family is broken, man. The welfare system is broken. The government is broken. And then she calmly said to me, but we're not broken.
Sure.
So if God has restored you, He can restore your family. He can restore your son.
Yeah.
Maybe your light is not acting like he should. Moses was like a grown man when he finally got into his purpose after being given everything on a platter by both societies, Hebrew and Egyptian. Maybe he's not on the place there. You just keep on praying. You just keep on doing what you need to do. Lay the foundation. Train up a child in the way he should go. And after many days, they will find their way home. So just stick it out.
Beautiful.
That's my message.
Wow. Before I hand over to you, Tash or Craig, I want to ask quickly Brandon a question. And I want to rope you in. Quick one.
Yes.
What's been one of the best parts of being father in your fatherhood journey, that you'd love to share and say, wow, a memory that comes to mind, or this has been one of my favorite parts of being a father?
Well, at a very young age, we had a challenge with Deelsad, where the doctor said that she will never finish matric. And me as her father, that took her first day to school, that celebrated her prom, that went with her for her first day to high school, and had the honor of giving her a matric ball to stand next to her. That firm foundation was Christ. That firm foundation was giving her what I never had, and it was never easy. But here today, she's standing, she's 20 years old, and despite the doctor's report, I told my wife that we should support her whatever she wants to be in life. And I'm telling you today, she passed matric and she's on the college today. That one thing is the hope for someone out there that, as I said, if your foundation is strong, you can build on that foundation. no matter if that child is not your biological child. God purposed that child, and our responsibility is to love, is to give, is to accept. And even if they make mistakes, and when they make a mistake, to still allow them and ask them, are you sure you made the right choice? And that is what I'm proud of today, of being a father. As I see her grow, as I see her now having a license now, she went for a license, as I see her driving a car to college. And that is what makes me proud of being a father. And said, despite of the circumstances of yesterday, we step up. We step up and we took the responsibility, and we journey with that child. Where I don't know her future, but what I know is a future in Christ. If she loves dancing, and in church they do the spiritual dancing, and I always encourage them, just do it, just do it. Yeah. So that is my Romeo, that is my that is a really just the journey, also not also the family that supported through the years. And that is also important. Family, because in the beginning it was sensitive, it's a girl, and you need to have that family around. You need to come and sit around, build relationships. That is what is important. Don't live in your own corner. Build relationships with the family around you, and I think that will build, and that will it's not about you. It's about the purpose that God have for that child. It's about that child that you say, I don't know where God is taking this child, but as a father today, I can say, Lord, thank you for whatever the doctor's report was. My child is on a college today.
Wow.
Amen. Amen. Oh, what a beautiful testimony. I mean, wow. Big ups to you. Big ups to you, Brandon. Big
Thank
ups
you,
to you,
Natasha.
Etienne. And sure, I'm so encouraged. And we've got so many messages coming through as well, voice notes as well. But just because we're running out of time, I think Craig,
Sure.
as an outro,
Yeah, I mean, how do you
I was
outro on
gonna
that?
say,
It's
how do
like
you-
just put the mic
you know what I
down.
mean?
That's all good.
like,
No, but look,
yeah.
I'm super encouraged as well. I think
Mm.
if we just listen to what the guys were saying, man,
Yeah.
it's about acceptance of who you are and where
Yeah.
you are. When we start out sometimes with not knowing how to do this thing, man. We can be very scared. Our own story can also speak to us a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, we can either succumb to our story, or we can actually be better for someone else.
Yeah.
Like Etienne mentioned, you had Moses, and Moses actually had a Jethro to help him. Solomon had a David. David had a Samuel. Jesus had a Joseph.
Yeah.
And when we look at that relationship, it's just to say, like Etienne was talking about, that adoption, man. And I always think about that Imago Dei, the image of God. And like if we look at everybody like that, in the likeness of God, and we view them in that way, our love is also expressed in that way, man. And we once we get to that point, and a lot of the time it's about putting your own stuff aside, man.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things, like the gentleman mentioned here, that they also had to put aside in their own lives, things that they also believed about, what they probably seen or felt, or what they thought was the truth to them, and putting that aside and say, look, I actually have a child here, and what's really been speaking to me in this week was just about, like, what do you have in your hand, man, and what is it that you have that you need to steward. And these kids, like Etienne was also saying, it's given to us, man, and we have such an immense responsibility.
Yeah.
And you can also shy away from that responsibility. You can want to run, you can want to hide, and unfortunately we have a lot of people that have hidden from that have fathers really get such a bad rap nowadays. But there are those guys, and if it's you that's there, you can turn it around today. You can be the difference in someone else's life today. If these guys can do it based on the stories that they have told us,
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be the same story, but just based on that, there's hope, man.
Absolutely.
And what was common for both of them, it was within God's plan, man, within His will. And they are expressing the heart of God to others. And I think that is a challenge for all of us
Yeah.
as we listen to this. So
Yeah.
thank you, gents.
Yeah, thank you.
you.
Really, thank you. We have, again, so many messages coming through. Ursula coming through saying, Brandon is an awesome father to Dilshad. She loves him so much. I'm part of the youth with him, and he's like a dad to all the kids in the youth. as well. So big ups to Brandon. Oh man, and then I think we have a few more on the Facebook as well. Natalie coming through saying it's hard. She's a foster mom as well, but God gives you strength to carry on. That is so true. And then I think we have a few voice notes to get into. But thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Tina.
Pleasure.
Again, a very beautiful
I'm here.
conversation. Indeed. And I think we have, is it, do you want to read Marion's message or no?
No. It's so many. Okay, we can actually touch on it quickly. I was just looking at time. Saying good evening to you. I can't begin to imagine how a dad ways now cannot love his children. I'm a mom to 3 amazing boys that's serving the Lord wonderfully and very active in church. But father is absent in their lives. They're struggling to deal with this. Thank you so much for stepping up and playing that role in the child's life. So showing the significance of a father in a child's life.
Thank you so much once again, family, for that beautiful conversation. Again, you can catch the conversation on our social media pages. That's Facebook and YouTube. If you want to listen to it over and over again, maybe you want to reshare it and repost it, it's certainly worth a repost. We're going to quickly go to Cheval Franklin. It's titled I Have a Testimony, which will take us, of course, to the news at 5.